Hello there, FLFH Human Gang. I hope all is well. I've got my coffee on board. I've got questions on the phone. Let's get cracking. Okay, first up we have got Ryan Smith. How you doing, buddy? Who asks, what are your key suggestions for stopping a bad day turning into a bad week? Right, I think one thing which is worth realising, when you have a bad day or a bad meal, you're going to have to go some for it to completely undo. Say like you have a really good week and you just have a complete fuck up at the weekend. Just one day it goes a bit awry. Will it hamper progress? Yes, it will. But there's only so much damage you can do in one day. So what tends to happen is that Friday comes around, maybe Friday night's a bit of a write-off, and the kind of mentality is, oh well, I've broken the diet on Friday night, the rest of the weekend, what's the point? I'll start again Monday. And then it's Friday night shit, Saturday shit, Sunday shit, and then you really have done some damage then over 2 and 3 days. So, check that. Suggestions for stopping a bad day turning into a bad week. Probably just realising that it's not the end of the world if you have a bad day, and instead of trying to go the other way and try and make everything perfect again, just focus on the next meal. Right, I've messed up, let's make the next meal a good one. Let's get a good source of protein in there, let's get some vegetables with it, let's get my glass of water out and just have a good meal. As soon as you have that good meal, you're back on track, and then the fuck up becomes a distant memory and you can carry on. Question number 2. Keith Page. Big man. If overall health and well-being, along with looking trimmer, are your main goals, then what is the best routine to follow? Lifting, cardio, or mobility work, i.e. yoga, Pilates and stretching? If all apply, then what's the best way to structure a routine? As I say in the comments, that is an absolute beast of a question, and I think Keith knows where I'm gonna go with it, because I kind of talk about it all the time with him, and he alludes to it in his question. I think a mixture of all three. So we've got lifting, cardio, and mobility work. So lifting is gonna let you gain and preserve muscle mass, so you become stronger. You're gonna function better. You'll feel better when you lift as well. And also lifting is cool, so that's always good. Cardio, in terms of just cardiovascular health, we know that's a good thing. Who doesn't want a strong heart, right? So again, absolute no-brainer. And with mobility and stretching work, because we're kind of sat down a lot of the time, we have things like tight hip flexors, posture not so good. So doing some stretching work can benefit. Again, you'll feel better, less chance of picking up injuries. So everything has a place. Now, I suppose knowing that you should, or it's desirable to do all three, and knowing how to put that together in a plan, they're two different things. So you can do a little bit of trial and error. So maybe when you're first starting out and you're kind of like a novice at everything, you do a little bit of everything. Then after a while it starts becoming apparent maybe one area is weaker than the other, so you put a bit more focus on that. Or maybe your goals change. Maybe if you want to run a 10k in a certain time, then obviously you're probably going to need to do a little bit more cardio work to bring the speed up. And so once you've got over that kind of the first kind of 6 months to a year, people tend to kind of follow what they like, or they'll pick up something that they really kind of gel with, and then more time and more hours start becoming dedicated to that, which is a good thing, because that's what kind of keeps people coming back. I think how you structure a plan is just completely goal dependent. So I'll take, let's take the big two, which are kind of weight loss and, we'll take weight loss, we'll take fitness, and we'll take strength. Well, if weight loss is the goal, get the diet sorted first. So no matter what you do in terms of stretching, strengthening, cardio, diet first for weight loss, for looking trimmer. If strength is your goal, you're going to need to prioritise resistance training and doing the heavy lifts, and kind of you get them in your diary first, and then supplement with the stretching and cardio routine. If you've got a fitness-based goal, you need to get your cardio in the diary first, and then use the other stuff to supplement that. So basically priorities, right? Whichever is the kind of the dominant goal, that's where you're going to spend the most time. The only issue with trying to do all three is, one, it's kind of time consuming. So most people haven't got like hours and hours to spend doing all three, so you have to kind of allocate your time wisely. The trouble that people run into typically is if one of the three is just so dominant and it's at the expense of the others. So you can do it in different ways. You can spend periods of time focusing on strength, or focusing on fitness, or focusing on mobility. But you have to find a way of balancing them. In terms of structuring a program, hire a good trainer who knows what they're doing. I mean, God knows where you're going to find one of them. Good luck. But cheers for the question, mate. It's a belter. Next question. Who is this one from? It's from Tonya Bartram. Hello T, how are you? Social media can be a great source of information and support, or not. Yeah, I mean, social media is both. It's good and bad. So I'd like to think that the Facebook group where this video is going to be getting published, or the YouTube channel, is a source of good information, and it's a friendly place, friendly environment. So online, if you can find, especially on Facebook, it's phenomenal. So many different fat loss and fitness groups now, and most of them you can kind of join or leave as you see fit. So maybe join a couple of groups, see what they're talking about, see if it resonates with you. Is it a friendly atmosphere in there? I mean, I'm a member of a few fitness groups, or I've left a few fitness groups because it just tends to be, I'm all for kind of questioning people and healthy debate, but it can get a little bit nasty, and that's probably one of the big reasons why I didn't get like a Facebook group going sooner, because I hate it when it turns into a shit show of just people going back and forth. Rule of thumb for social media, you never ever change someone's mind online, or maybe 1% of the time. So if they've got a pretty firm viewpoint on something, realise when you put anything out there that you're probably not going to change their mind. But yeah, friendly, supportive forums I think are fantastic. The negative side of social media is there's tons, but I suppose the big one in the fitness industry is just people setting unrealistic expectations, and whether that's through Photoshop, or putting different filters on photos, or having an incredible physique that's kind of attained through hard training and drug use, but telling people it's just about the training and eating your chicken and broccoli and stuff. That's a personal pet peeve of mine, as I know T is not a massive fan either. So yeah, I think overall you just have to be discerning. You have to choose your sources wisely, and I've got this with a few clients. If you follow certain people online, maybe their intention is to inspire, but it makes people feel bad because they're like, how the hell can I attain this impossible physique? Well, don't follow them. If they've got good information, then so be it. But I think any kind of mug can, and I'm very aware of this, I've just taken photos of myself off the back of the cut, but any kind of mug can put pictures of themselves in good lighting, flexing. Once you've seen one set of abs, you've kind of seen them all, right? If there's a process behind it and they're kind of telling you how to do it, fair enough. Disclaimer for my later post this week. But yeah, I think overall, social media, a good thing, but choose your sources wisely. Okay, the next questions I'm going to cover, weren't direct questions, but more topics that I was discussing with clients that I thought would make for good videos or good topics. This one, yeah. So from a consultation, I quite often get clients to complete a list of foods, like their favourite foods or their convenient foods. And what I'll do is I'll go away and put together a meal plan based on kind of their favourite foods. And And this is surprising to a lot of people because they kind of think, oh wow, I thought you were going to have this list of magic fat loss foods. I can still have, you know, chocolate and eat Christmas stuff in my diet. And yes, you can, but you just have to quantify it. So one of the ladies I was talking to, she said something on the lines of, oh, so it's kind of like what I'm already eating, it's just there's slightly less of it. And I was like, yeah, that if you're gonna start with a diet, you could do a lot worse than just tracking your intake for a week, eat normally, see where the calories are coming from, and then the second week you repeat that, but maybe you just bring portion sizes down a little bit. So you're eating all the foods you would normally eat. You don't have to change anything in terms of prep. Well, maybe you have to weigh the food out, but big deal, 5 minutes. And you can create your own weight loss diet based on all the foods you would normally eat. So in my head, I'm like, well, how likely are you to stick to that? Answer, a lot more than if you just try and do chicken, broccoli and rice 3 times a day. Think about it. Next one, medication hampering weight loss. This is fresh in the memory because I've just got off like an email back and forth, but it was a good question. It was like, I'm taking a certain medication, I think this might be interfering, or you know, I've put on weight since I've been taking this medication. And you do get, if you look at like side effects on different meds, it will have, you know, weight loss as a potential side effect. Now, regardless of, it's impossible to cover on this video all the different types of medication and how they all work, but a few ways that medication can lead to weight gain or scale weight gain, fluid retention being an absolutely huge one. So you can see the weight spike up, and it can just be as a result of that. So nothing to particularly worry about, but kind of a little bit annoying. If you track the weight over a period of time, you might see it kind of be going up and down. If you come off the medication, take advice on your doctor from that one. But if you change the medication, or if it's like a cyclical thing, like you're on the medication for a few weeks, then you're off, you might see it suddenly drop again. The certain meds can have an effect on appetite. So even though kind of you don't feel necessarily any different, but you end up eating more without realizing it. So this is incredibly common. And again, it's a case about being diligent and kind of tracking intake and making sure you're not overdoing it. Some medication can lead to you feeling more lethargic or lacking energy. So if that happens, you move a bit less, you don't change the eating patterns, you put on weight because you're not moving as much. So medication can have an effect on weight gain, but it tends to be an indirect one. It's not like, oh, I had this tablet, boom, I got fat, because the body can't start building fat stores on, you know, a tablet essentially. Like, it needs the building blocks which come from our food. So it's had an indirect effect on either energy coming in or energy going out, typically, or fluids masking the numbers. But it means you might have a slightly harder time dieting, but it's nothing that can't be overcome, in my experience. Okay, last one. Not getting too high or too low with scale movements. So another relevant one, I always have this one on a Monday, it's because when I do my client check-ins, and typically part of the check-in will be someone sending me over their numbers from the scale. So most of my clients weigh in every day, not all, but most, to get that weekly average. Now, on a Monday, especially after the weekend, let's say someone's had the roast dinner, or maybe they've had a little bit more than they would do over the weekend, the scale jumps up 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds overnight. And you get this kind of like, oh my God, it's a nightmare, I've gained 4 pounds of fat overnight, woe is me, kind of just, And what I typically do then, I'll kind of interject and be like, okay, so you've gained 4 pounds overnight, so for a pound of fat, that's 3,500 calories, so you've gained 4 pounds, so have you overeaten 14,000 calories worth? Because that's what you would need. If you've genuinely put on 4 pounds of fat, you'll have to overeat 14,000 calories. How likely is that to have happened? The person typically thinks about it and obviously like, yeah, probably not. Unless they did, in which case I wouldn't even be mad, it's just impressive. But it tends to be as a result of fluid like 99 times out of 100, much like the medication video I was talking about earlier, it's this kind of fluid and water retention that happens through a few more carbs, a bit more salt, a bit less activity maybe, muscle glycogen holding water there. But what I try to stress is basically don't let it ruin the day. You know, you jump on the scales, you see a number that's a bit high, that can like completely trash someone's day, and they're thinking about it all day and they're worrying about it and what am I doing wrong, and they shouldn't do, because it's just water weight. Now the flip side of that is when you get someone, and again this will happen, what goes up must come down, right? So the body's also got the ability to shed an incredible amount of water very quickly, you know, throughout the day and overnight. So then you get someone who jumps on the scale and they've lost 3 or 4 pounds overnight, and they're like high-fiving, hands in the air, brilliant, oh look at all this fat I've lost, I'm just smashing through it. And again, it's just, okay, let's not go to the extreme. You haven't lost 4 pounds of fat overnight, you've lost a tiny bit, and you've lost 3 pounds, 3.5, 3 3/4 pounds of water. So it's good, it gives you that little boost on the scale, but it's just, you don't need to celebrate it really. Just like, oh, that's nice, that's a little boost. That's kind of it. I always talk about not getting too emotionally invested in the scales, and that's what I mean, especially with day-to-day readings. They mean so little in the grand scheme of things. So never getting too high when you see a low number, and never kind of being on the floor if it creeps up a bit. Just cruise along, nice and steady, wait to the end of the week, look at the average, and then adjust the diet accordingly. If you have any questions about any of the videos that I put out this week, this one, please stick your comments in the box below. I'm always happy to help. Any more ideas for videos and questions in the future, stick them in the box below as well, and I'll put together another little montage next week. Take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.